In this lesson, we'll be learning about your web browser's developer tools. More specifically, we will be taking a look at your browser's ability to inspect elements. By the end of this lesson, you will understand how invaluable it is to be able to inspect an element with your browser's developer tools. And you may actually be frustrated that I didn't show you this earlier. But trust me, there's a method to my madness. I wanted to make sure that you had a solid understanding of CSS basics before introducing you to any new tools. By this point in the course, you have more than enough knowledge, so let's dive right in. In every modern web browser, you can right-click on any element on the page and select Inspect Element. This will pull up your developer tools in inspector mode. Now this will look a bit different depending on the browser you're using. I'm using Firefox. Google Chrome's inspector is very similar. You will see on the left side a bird's eye view of your HTML structure. Now we originally right-clicked on the sidebar text and clicked Inspect Element, so by default that paragraph is selected. And on the right side of our developer tool window, we can see all of the properties, all of the styles associated with that paragraph of text, with the element that's selected. So we can see that there's a rule targeting the sidebar, and that's where it's getting its font size. We can see that it's receiving its font family trickled down from the body element. We can see that it's receiving its line height or line spacing trickled down from the HTML element. And we can override or customize these values on the fly. So this rule that's saying sidebar text should have a font size of 85%, we can simply click on that and use the arrow keys on our keyboard or even just type in a new value. So I can bump this up to 95% or any value that we want, and you can see it's updating in real time behind the developer tool window. So let's imagine that we decide 114% looks excellent. Now the developer tools on its own won't save that change for us, and as soon as we reload the page, it reverts back to before we even launched developer tools. But you'll notice that developer tools tells us where in our style sheet this rule is located. So it's telling us it's in this file on line number 173. So we can go over to our style sheet, scroll down to line 173. We know the exact line to go to. Here it is. And we know that 114% is what looks perfect in the web browser. Refresh, and there you have it. Now on the surface, that may not appear to be very impressive, but believe me, as your websites become more and more complex, it's invaluable to be able to trace down where a certain property is trickling down from. At times you'll wonder, is a style coming from a direct selector or is it being inherited by a parent element? And as you can see, the inspector makes it very simple to track down which properties are coming from which rules. Another neat feature of the inspector is this left pane that shows you a bird's eye view of your HTML structure. It can be hovered over with your mouse and it will outline in the browser behind it the element that you're hovering over. So if I hover over body, it highlights the entire page. If I highlight over header, it shows us the header. And then I can click on one of these arrows to drill down inside the header. So if I hover over the heading, there you go. There's the paragraph. We can drill down into the nav, drill down into the unordered list. We can see there's a list item for each link. We can even drill down into one of the list items to find the actual link element. And we can see all of the properties that are assigned to the link elements. We can see all of the properties that are trickling down from ancestor elements. And if we wanted to edit any of these properties, like padding, we can simply click on it and then type in any value we want, and it will update on the fly. Or we can even add new declarations entirely. So if you click towards the end of a row, you can see that it started a cursor down here, and we can say text transform uppercase. You can see it updates on the fly. In some browsers, to add a new declaration on the fly, you might need to right-click and click New Declaration. In others, you can just click towards the bottom of the rule. Now again, as soon as you reload the page, all of your changes will be gone. But when you're trying to experiment or troubleshoot, the ability to edit things on the fly is completely invaluable. So we've established that your browser's inspector tool is amazing for tracking down where properties are coming from. It's excellent for experimenting or troubleshooting. And finally, I want to point out how amazing it is for getting inspiration from other sites. So for example, if you visit a website and you see an amazing effect, they have a really neat layout, you see an element that's positioned in a neat way, or you see any type of styling that you want to try and emulate, you can simply right-click anywhere on the page or on a specific element, poke around a bit in the inspector, and try and get a feel for which properties and values they're using, where they're assigning them, how different elements are relating to one another. The inspector can be one of your biggest allies in learning more and more complex CSS. I encourage you to play around with some of your favorite websites and take a peek under their hoods. Have fun, and I will see you in the next lesson.